On today's History of Politics, we're going to talk about the 17th Amendment. This is one that you don't hear much about, and it's kind of covered in Article 2 of the Constitution. But basically, here's what the text says. It's in regards to senators, not state senators, but federal government senators. Okay? And the Constitution outlines, it says that there will be 2 senators per state that each have 1 vote. Okay? We have 50 states, 2 senators. That equals 100 senators in the United States Senate, which, as we know, the Senate is 1/2 of the legislative branch of the government. The House of Representatives is the other. Okay? And they comprise what's called Congress. Having said that, the Constitution further says in the 17th Amendment that these senators will be elected by members of their state. Okay, so if you live in, say, Pennsylvania, you get to elect your senators. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to senators, it doesn't really go by political party. So it's not like it's mandatory that you have to have 1 Republican and 1 Democrat. No, you can have 2 Republicans in 1 state or 2 Democrats in 1 state. Or in the case of Maine, where is it? Maine and Vermont, you can have either a Republican or a Democrat and an independent. And all praises to God, here in Pennsylvania, we may have an independent and a Republican in 2028. We'll see. It further states that if something happens where one of those senators cannot serve, then the governor of the state, they call it the executive authority of the state in the actual text, but the governor can appoint an interim senator or make a temporary appointment. So that means if, God forbid, but say one of my senators here in Pennsylvania dies, okay, the governor can appoint a replacement senator temporarily. And normally that temporarily is until the next election can be held or a special election if need be. But that person, and that same person, by the way, that holds the seat temporarily can run in the general election to keep that seat if they so desire. But the governor would appoint a temporary interim appointment for the senator who will serve until the next election or when they have if they have a special election for that seat. Next thing is that it stipulates in the amendment that this does not apply to any senators who came into office before the amendment was ratified, okay, or before the amendment became part of the Constitution. So basically, they were setting the stage for a clean slate. Anyone who was a senator or held the position of senator before this amendment, it doesn't apply. The rules of this doesn't apply to them. They could actually be terminated. And finally, it also sets the stage like this because it tells us that the term of a senator is 6 years. So you can serve your term for 6 years, and then you're up for election again. Contrary to the House of Representatives, which your term is only 2 years. And your first term, you can't vote. As a freshman, you cannot vote. It's pretty crazy, right? But that's the way that they wrote it. This is the way that the founders did it. This is This is the Seventh Amendment that comes after the first 10, which is the Bill of Rights. This is also another post-Civil War amendment, even though it's not directly linked as the 13th through the 16th were, or in particular the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Those three in particular basically address slavery and the rights of free men. And the 16th touched on the allowance for free men to vote. Okay? So we could actually say 13, 14, 15, and 16 were tantamount to Reconstruction. Now we're starting to get into the rules that were made into law in the Constitution of how government is and how politicians are supposed to be. I believe that the 18th Amendment is going to talk about the House of Representatives, which is a slightly different animal. But the House of Representatives is very important because that's where laws get started. They start in the House. They actually start in committees. They move to the House. They get voted on in the House. It goes to the Senate. The Senate looks it over. They can either make changes to it or leave it as is. If they make changes to it, they send it back to the House. The House looks at it, and then a negotiation may take place where the House wants this, but the Senate wants that, and they hammer out a final deal, and then they all vote on it. And once it's approved by Congress, then it goes to the president, who signs it into law. But even if the House and the Senate agree on it and they move it to the president can veto it. Now, if you think that's the end right there, it's not. Because in actuality, even if the president vetoes it, the House by a 2/3 vote and the Senate by a 2/3 vote can override the veto. And then it becomes law against what the president wants. The Constitution kept a certain checks and balances mechanism in there to keep everybody honest. And the judiciary has its place in it well between the three branches of government. Presidents are not all powerful, because an all-powerful president is the person that starts to not do what the people need, but what he wants done. A president does not have the right to change the world to fit him, but rather he serves the people, as do Congress people, as does the Supreme Court. That's why they call them public servants. We don't serve them. They are supposed to serve us. And we do pay their salaries in the form of those taxes, which we talked about yesterday. In the 16th Amendment, the paying of taxes, we pay their salaries. So they are there to serve us. But unfortunately, things have gotten so crazy and greedy that things have changed and the shoe is on the other foot now. And the servants are now telling essentially the bosses or the citizenry what to do. It's for the people, not force the people. And that's something I've been saying for almost a year now. It's for the people, not force the people. Anyway, that's the 17th Amendment. I hope you're around to join me tomorrow for the 18th Amendment, which I think is about the House of Representatives, but I could be wrong. We'll find out tomorrow. Until then, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.